Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for spending some of your day with us here to learn a little more about Hamilton. This panel is about finding your future at Hamilton, doing career planning, and using Hamilton's alumni network. I'm joined by panelists Heather Wixson, Margaret Schilling, Mel Geller. We also have some people in our chat who are going to be answering questions, Shauna Hirschfield, Melissa Marietta, and Nikki Barron. So like I said, we're here to talk about Hamilton's Career Center from the lens of how our students access the department's resources and the alumni network to prepare themselves for life after college. So let's get started with some introductions. So I will go first. My name is Ben Rose. I'm an Associate Dean of Admission at Hamilton College, also a graduate, class of '09. And a fun fact about myself, I have a tremendous board game collection. I have a ton of board games and I'm very into board games. So Heather, let's toss it over to you.
Hi, I'm Heather Wixson. I'm a career advisor at the Career Center. A fun fact about myself is that I have a poodle named Matilda who takes up a lot of my time. She's still a puppy. Mel?
Hi, everyone. I'm Mel Geller, she, her pronouns. I'm a rising senior at Hamilton. My major is government. I have a minor in classical studies, which is like Latin. I am from Westchester, New York, if anyone's from Westchester. On campus, I'm a member of the women's club soccer team. I work for the Career Center, which I'll talk about in a bit. And I'm a peer editor for the Haley Classical Journal. And a fun fact about me is for like 4 years in high school, I worked at an ice cream shop. And at the end, when I graduated, I got to make a flavor and name it after myself. So it's called Chocolate Meltdown with an emphasis on Mel. So that's my fun fact. Margaret, you want to go next?
Margaret Schilling. I work for the Career Center on the employer relations team. I am also a graduate of Hamilton. And my fun fact is when I was 12, I took a class in ventriloquism.
Wow.
Great. So thank you all. I do also want to mention again, we have a few colleagues joining us in the question and answer. Melissa Marietta, Director of Career Development, and Shauna Hirschfield, our Director of Operations and Analytics, as well as Nikki Barron, who's another Associate Dean of Admission. All of them will be answering questions in the Q&A. So we are going to go through some prepared comments about kind of the resources available and some questions about those. But feel free to toss questions you have in the Q&A. We'll be answering those throughout and then trying to get to as many as we can at the end, time permitting. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by talking a little bit about the Career Center and kind of an overview of the services they provide. And then after, we're going to move on and talk a little bit about the alumni network. So Heather, could you start by giving us kind of an overview of the Career Center, the resources, and kind of what that's all about?
Absolutely. So the Career Center, we kind of really pride ourselves on helping students figure out what their next steps are going to be. And we do this in a whole lot of ways. First and foremost, students who come to Hamilton are assigned a career advisor who is with them for their 4 years, no matter what it is that they decide that they might want to pursue post-Hamilton. We also have, so there's a great opportunity to develop a relationship there. We also have a career development curriculum, which sets us apart, I believe, from many, many colleges. I don't believe there's many colleges that have a career development curriculum that we help guide you through. It's steps that we feel that you should be taking no matter your interest area, to learn more about yourself and more about careers and to actually connect with alumni that Margaret's going to talk about in a minute. And another thing that we do, aside from individual appointments with students, is we have 2 really large teams of student employees. Mel is among them, and they do a lot of really great work. So we have one team that does kind of curricular stuff, helps you with resumes and cover letters and learning about how to find internships. And then we have another team called the Connect team that works to bring alumni to campus or on Zoom to talk about their industry and their path from Hamilton to where they are now. And what we want students to do is kind of explore widely, doing career-related experiences, not just summer internships, but things on campus, to talk to a lot of people and to kind of, as they're navigating college, kind of be thinking about kind of what's next. So you may know too that we have Alex advisors and academic advisors, and the best way I've heard that kind of described is as sort of a 3-legged stool of advising. So you have your academic advisor who's going to help you with classes and all of that. You have your Alex advisor who's going to help you make sure that you're getting everything, every great experience that you can from Hamilton, on-campus experiences. And then you have your career advisor who's going to help you kind of be thinking future forward about where that's going to take you. Mel, did you want to talk a little bit about your work at the Career Center?
Yeah, so this is going to be, I think, my 5th semester, if not 6th, at the Career Center. So I work on the Connect team, which was the one that focuses on bringing alumni to campus. So the first few semesters that I was on it, I worked on the Life Skills Connect team, which is a really niche team. We have different industry teams like arts and entertainment, business, et cetera. And we can probably provide a link for where you can read all the different teams. But for the life skills, we taught students about things you might not learn in a classroom setting, which could be things like negotiating your salary, or it could be how to do your taxes, or it could be about nutrition and sustainable health. And students definitely really appreciate these resources, and we bring alumni specifically in that field, whether it's like a financial advisor, to campus to speak with Hamilton students about whatever that specific theme was. So that's what I've been doing those few semesters. Then recently I've been more on the operation side of things. I've been training. I'm going to be moving into a recruitment role. So much more in the background operations of logistics. As a student, though, with the Career Center, I've definitely used the discovery team a lot. I've gotten resumes approved. I've gotten cover letters approved. I've gone for informational interview help. The resources are ample, and there are plenty of them. And most of my friends have been to the Career Center probably at least 3 times as seniors. So I think there's not many, when I talk to my home friends about their sort of resources that did their respective colleges, I think they're very jealous about the offers that Hamilton can provide. So it's been a really great experience for me in terms of working and using the Career Center.
Great. So the other thing, just to get a quick overview of, is kind of how the alumni network ties into this and how it connects to that student experience. So Margaret, could you talk a little bit about what role that plays?
Sure. So Hamilton alumni are really a tremendous resource to our students. They support the Career Center in a number of different ways, in very formal ways. As Mel mentioned, they come back to campus and they can talk to students about various industries. They can also talk specifically about their own companies. But alumni also conduct mock interviews with our students. So we do workshops on mock interviews. We also do workshops on networking practice, and our alumni are really helpful with that. And then in a very informal way, our alumni conduct countless informational interviews. So very regularly, we will have students reaching out to individual alumni in particular industries or at a specific company to find out more about that company or that industry. And our alumni can be found through our database. Our students are taught how to use that as a resource to connect with alumni. Our students also will host, our alumni will also host students for shadowing days. And this past year, we did that virtually. We actually had alumni set up a virtual shadowing series, but obviously in other years, we've been able to do that in person. And we also have alumni offering what we call them SNAP internships. They are sort of these micro internships, which are specifically for Hamilton students that are really very project-based, but they provide really meaningful career-related experience for our students that may not be found at a large company, but are ways that students can learn more about a company or an industry. So they continue to be a great resource for our students. I'd love to also talk about sort of the employer side, which is another part of my role. My team in the Career Center helps students really learn about different companies that are out there. So we are focused on campus visits from companies, and these are both in person, but also virtual sessions. They are info sessions, they are interviewing days. We run career fairs for both jobs and internships, and some of these are career fairs specifically for Hamilton students. Other times we join in a consortium with other colleges so that students have an opportunity to meet recruiters from lots of different companies. We use social media and communication to feature companies throughout the year so that our students are every week maybe getting the name of a new company, learning a little bit more about that company, and being provided the links to their website and sort of social media channels so they can follow companies. We do treks to the major cities where we can visit alumni in their workplaces. And obviously we did not do that this past year, but we've been able to do that in other years to New York or to Boston. And then of course, we have our alumni who are returning to campus for events and may stop by the Career Center to host a session with students to talk about their companies. So maybe that's enough for now.
Anything else to add on that before we go into questions?
I can speak a bit to the student experience with alumni. One, being part of the Connect team has been, I think, the highlight of the job is talking to the alums. There are countless of them, including the nutritionists that I spoke to bring them for a nutrition event, who I still talk to today, and actually students use her as like a nutritionist outside of things. And I think I was going to do a DC program, and in my job search for that, I spoke with probably 20 Hamilton alums who were nothing but helpful and helped me sort of narrow down the different jobs that I would look for, the different internship opportunities that there are. And ultimately they ended up helping me to get the internship that I did. So I think the resource of the alumni is really unique, especially given how eager the alumni are to just help you get that next step.
Sorry, I muted myself. Thank you for saying that, Melanie, because that really, I do think, sets Hamilton apart. I've worked at a few colleges and I have never seen a more engaged and helpful and generous alumni body. They really want to help, and we are really doing what we can at the Career Center to kind of formalize that help and make sure that those connections are being made, because those are the most valuable connections that you can make. It's not a thing anymore that you apply for a job and you just get it because you have a nice resume, right? You really have to learn to go out and talk to people, and it's great to start that early, and you learn about yourself, you learn about what you don't like. You don't have to know exactly what you like, and that's going to go right into probably your next question, right, Ben?
Sure. Although I also just want to comment, as one of the two alums on this panel, I also think we have a tremendous alumni network with wonderful and giving alums. So I mean, one question that we're getting quite a bit is about that advising system actually talked about earlier. So could you talk a little more about how students meet and interact with their career advisor, and like what that advising relationship is like?
Absolutely. You will get a postcard in the mail and it'll have one of our faces on it. And that will be, you're randomly assigned. It was very strange the first year, but you do get used to it, your face in the mail. And then at that point, the door is open. It says right on that card, feel free to email me, call me, stop by, whatever. We really do encourage early engagement. You don't need to know what you want to do to come in and talk with us. During the first few weeks of your first year at Hamilton, we reach out via email. Because we know who our students are, we're able to kind of proactively encourage them to come in. And so, I'll send out an email to my whole, first year cohort saying, hey, I'm your person at the Career Center. I'd love to see you. Here's how you make an appointment. And it's super easy to make an appointment. You just log into our handshake system and literally drop yourself into my calendar. You don't have to call anyone. You don't have to know what you want to do. You just need to know that you don't even need to know who your person is, because the system won't let you make an appointment with the person that's not your person. So you can absolutely start those conversations early. I often, talk to students in my cohort before they even get to campus. If they're really excited and they want to talk about something, we're absolutely open to that. So there's no regular schedule. We really, really want to see you by sophomore year, but we love to see you first year.
And how does this advising system work with students who maybe have they're at different places kind of in what their search and what they're looking for?
Yeah, no, that I think is kind of the beauty of it, really, because it is so very individualized. And so there'll be a conversation, about what your interests are, what you think you might want to do, what your, peak experiences might have been so far. You may know what you want to do, and we can talk about that and how to explore broadly without putting blinders on, even though there are other things, there is something that you're interested in directly. So it's really very individualized. We really kind of pride ourselves on meeting you where you are. If you come into my office and you have no idea, we might just kind of talk about, things that you like and what you've done over the past few years. If you're, super excited about going to law school, I might, have you chat with a few people who are doing the type of law that is interesting to you. I might immediately coach you through reaching out to some alumni who can kind of talk to you about their experiences. So it really kind of, runs the gamut, but it's very much, exploring widely and keeping an open mind and flexibly thinking about what your next steps might be, because you're probably going to change your mind about what you want to do a couple of times while you're at Hamilton, and then a couple of more times once you leave.
So that changing your mind, I know that's something a lot of students have concerns about. That's common and supported, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So another question we get with some frequency is about our pre-professional advising program. So if you're interested in medicine or law, some kind of finance or business field, how does that tie into this, and what resources are available for someone who wants to pursue those fields?
Sure. Well, we have an amazing health professions advisor. So anything under the health professions umbrella, she'll kind of work alongside your academic advisor, because a lot of the health professions is making sure that you take those science courses that you will need to go on to further schooling. So that's a little bit intricate. For law, a lot of people don't know this, but there really isn't any prep for law. Law schools want to see, diversity in majors and interest and ideas. And so nobody needs to guide you through your courses. So you'll just be assigned to your advisor, and they'll help you explore law. We do have a super volunteer in law who is, her name is Peggy Gart, class of '01. And when you are at that point where you are applying to law school or seriously considering it, she will talk to you about it, and she will help you with your application. She went to law school right after Hamilton. She was a dance and biology major. I always love to throw that in because it throws people off. And she's lovely and will work individually with Hamilton students and alumni on their application materials, because she practiced as a lawyer for a while, then stopped to have a family, and is now a law school admissions counselor. So she knows that process inside and out. And other fields, finance, this, that, and the other, we will guide you through that. In different ways, depending on, what the Connect team is doing, what alumni are coming in. But, all the advisors have been around for a while and know, what students need to do and how they can connect with the people, because that's the important piece that can really help you move forward.
Great. So let's talk. Another question we get all the time about this sort of thing is about kind of internship opportunities. It's something people always want to make sure are available, and it ties very closely again into all of this stuff, into connecting with alumni, and to getting the resources you need to be successful. So how does that tie into this? How does that connect to the alumni network, and how early and easy is it to get those sorts of opportunities?
It depends, right? So I always like to encourage first years to do whatever they want that first summer. What is interesting to you? What's going to be fun? I think there's a lot of pressure around internships. We don't even really use the word very much. We like to say career-related experiences, because everything that you do is gonna inform you about what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, is going to provide you with transferable skills. But of course, as you're moving through college, you're going to want to have more formalized opportunities. But the other thing is that we tend to hyper focus on the summer because we're kind of academics and we're used to that. But there are so many opportunities on campus in clubs and organizations, on-campus jobs. I think Mel could tell you that she has gotten some of the best career-related experience at the Career Center during the school year. Go ahead, Mel, tell them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can. And I think, so I can go through countless personal experiences or the experiences of my friends. My friend who is actually interning at a bank this summer got it through a Hamilton alum that she spent like 20 weeks just having phone calls with alums in finance. And they were so happy to hear from her. And in my own personal experience, so I'm a gov major, so I've done a lot of political internships. And normally what I do is I go through our alumni directory, I look up who lives in DC and I speak to DC people there, because DC is essentially just networking and having phone calls. And every single person that I spoke with directed me to a different alum that they were like, you would really, I think, benefit from talking to this alum. And then it was just a trail of phone calls between me and different Hamilton alum. And ultimately they said, I think you should look at these applications. And they put me on an email list serve. And I ended up having this really great internship with actually President Biden's transition team last fall. So not even during the summer. And I got credit for it if someone, I think, maybe had a question about credit or no credit for internships. But so I think, yes, I have not had nothing but fantastic experiences, whether just for an informational interview, and then it turns into them being like, how can I help you? Is there another name that you want? And I know that I'm not alone in how amazing this experience has been with alumni.
Yeah.
And I would just add, I'd mentioned earlier that what we call the SNAP internships, these are micro internships, but they're really just projects and they're career-related experiences for students, and they can be done over January break. They can be done during the school year. And what we hear from both employers and really largely our alumni who are out in the field working is that people early in their career simply need to demonstrate that they've had all these experiences and they can tie them together and show how that's informed their skill set. And so I would just echo what Heather said, which is, the formal internship isn't always the path to a successful career.
Yeah.
But being able to narrate and tell the story of how you've spent your time building a path for yourself.
Absolutely. And the career advisor is there to help you figure out what that is, right? If you're interested in advertising, you're not going to spend your first year summer at Saatchi & Saatchi. It's just not going to happen. But maybe your local library has a book fair you can help promote, right? So it's kind of building a foundation that you can build up to Saatchi & Saatchi perhaps, and start networking with people who are doing really big, interesting things in that industry. At some point, but it's more about kind of where you are and what's going to work best for you.
And I think just bouncing off that, I think earlier we talked about how a lot of times people come into Hamilton and they have no idea what they want to do. I have a friend who still definitely is unsure, but he's probably attended like every career center event that he sees from the Connect team, and just goes to different types of events because he loves art, he loves music, he's thinking about law. And after going to all these events, he's like, I think I want to do art law. So then he reached out to alumni who were in that field. And that was without even looking at internships or anything. It was just about the resources that Hamilton provides for him and taking advantage of them.
So there was a really interesting comment earlier about how it's not necessarily about internships, which is it's career-related experiences. And I think this is kind of an important distinction that is really interesting, right? So could you talk a little more about what makes it a career-related experience and how that kind of assists with this whole process?
Sure. A career-related experience to me is anything that informs you on your next steps and your future, right? It could even be, I don't want to do that, right? That could be your career-related experience. At the end, you could say, you know what, I didn't love that. I liked this part of it, but I think I want to move in that direction. So it's kind of looking at everything through that lens, sort of thinking about what does this mean? This experience that I've had, if I've had this internship, what did I love about it? What did I not love about it? Does it make me want to do that or something similar to that? It's less about kind of picking your path and going to it. It's more about writing your own story, about following your interests and seeing where they lead. because this generation is probably going to have 2 to 5 careers, not just jobs. So it's having that flexibility in your thought, thinking broadly, trying to, like, Mel's example, connect interests in interesting ways, and see what other people are doing, now with those interests that were once sitting at the college where you currently are.
So a few kind of base questions we get all the time about this sort of thing. So when, like, physically within a year, would you do these? Are these mostly summer things? Are they happening over breaks? When would you expect to get career-related experiences as a student?
Oh, I think anytime, certainly summer, as we said with Mel, she's working at the Career Center probably, I don't know, 7 to 10 hours a week. I don't know. But yeah, so any on-campus job can be informative. Clubs and organization, leadership in clubs and organization can be really powerful to find out what you're good at and what you like. And if you like to manage people, or if you want to be behind the scenes, or if you're a performer, all of these things you kind of learn as you go. So many things can be career-related experience, and it kind of will narrow as you kind of go closer to graduation, and you kind of narrow down your interests based on what you've previously done and what you've learned. It's, sometimes a class can be a career related experience. And I know that the college is moving even more in that direction with experiential learning. So there's a lot, your career and your life are so intertwined, that I think we do a disservice when we say summer internship, because there's really so much more out there.
How about the financials of it? Are these experiences often paid? What happens if they're not? Is there support available if they are not paid?
Do you want me to answer? So we do have summer internship funding available. Students apply, and these are either for if a student needs to earn, it's an unpaid experience, but the student still has cost of living expenses or things like that. And these are funds that are made available, and, it's never a guarantee, but I would say across the board, students feel that their needs are met in the summer. And we even offered them over the winter this past year because we had so many students finding some opportunities.
Yeah, and it depends also so much on industry and what you're interested in. The for-profit businesses more and more tend to pay interns because they want to avoid legal issues, whereas, nonprofit organizations simply maybe can't afford it. So it really depends. But if you are interested in, as Margaret said, interested in an opportunity that is not paid over the summer, there is funding available.
Are there any common examples of internships where, like, lots of students are getting X kind of experience? Or is it very a la carte where there isn't really a single thing that is common?
I'd say it's really a wide range, right? It's not as if, oh, all Hamilton students go to do this for the summer. I would say students are working in all sorts of companies and organizations, from really, really big companies in New York City to really, really small mom and pop shops in, very small towns. I think what we've learned this year is that there are lots of ways to work. You don't always have to be in person. And so students have had a whole range of experiences. And yes, so I think it really varies.
Really
So,
does. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say location actually also came up in a question. Are these based, do these experiences tend to be based in a particular area? Are there abroad experiences, internships or otherwise, that students are pursuing?
Abroad internships, I would honestly say, are kind of rare unless you're going to pay for it. Those tend to be programs that people pay for. We like students in the initial years, first and second year, to be thinking close to home, because that it just really breaks down some barriers if you can live at home, right? So trying to find a way, it's kind of like the library example I gave earlier. If you're interested in marketing, how can you get a little bit of experience in that, either your first summer or on campus in a club or in, you know, in an office helping promote their work, and build up to that by talking to alumni who work in that field and making sure that is the one that you're really interested in, and then, you know, building up to that, you know, internship that may be in New York City, right? You know, a lot of the funding that we do give out is to, you know, juniors who have landed an internship in New York City for their junior summer after they have, you know, progressively built that foundation and done the networking that Mel was talking about. And so it's really individualized. There's no, you know, there's no real pipelines, so to speak. There's a lot of thought about kind of working through what you want to do and what can be meaningful and how you can build on that.
Kind of in a similar vein, because we've talked a lot about how the alumni kind of inform this and kind of networking with them and how accessible they are. Are the alumni like particularly clustered in one area where like you really need to be looking in that area, whether like actual career discipline or location?
So more and more Hamilton alums are spreading out. Probably 10 years ago, if you'd asked that question, we could have answered it differently. We might have said, I mean, still, yes, are there a lot of alums in New York City? Sure. But there are also a lot of alums all over the country, in the Southeast, in the Midwest, in the West. So I would not say that they are concentrated in any particular city. You know, do more recent graduates go to the major cities? Yes, right. So because, you know, that's where they want to be and that's where they're connecting with each other. But it is no longer true that the majority of Hamiltonians are going to a particular city.
No, industry-wise, they're spreading out as well. Although
Yeah.
the top industries for many years have been education broadly, education nonprofit broadly, and finance. So those are kind of the industries that they tend to flock towards, at least initially. I think you're a Hamiltonian doing just about everything. You really will.
How about students who are interested in going into graduate programs in whatever field they're interested in, or pursuing fellowships after graduation? You know, what does that look like and what kind of support is there for that?
Yeah, well, advisors will support, you know, their students working towards graduate school goals. You know, the first and foremost, if you want to go to graduate school in the discipline that you're studying at Hamilton, you want to be sure to connect with your professors, because they are the experts on that, right? On that whole path. But of course, we're here to support, you know, things like personal statements and all of that. As for fellowships, we have probably the best fellowships advisor on earth, Jenny Dosh, who, you know, will talk to you if you're even a prospective student. She'll talk to you about your idea for your Fulbright, right? So she wants to talk to you early, and she's there to help. And we've been incredibly successful in the fellowships under her.
How about support for graduates? You know, what support are we providing for students, well, alums at that point, after they've left College Hill, and again, maybe need some of the same resources?
Yeah, I did interview prep with a class of 18 today. We're still here. We're still your advisor. You know, that Hamily, it's a little corny, but it's true. Will reached out to me and said, I can't believe this, but I have an interview coming up and I don't feel prepared. Would you, you know, sit and chat with me about it? And it, you know, it's not unusual, especially in the first 5 to 10 years, you know, for me to be chatting with students, and sometimes much further along than that, and sometimes it's just kind of talking about, you know, the modern networking process or whatever. But we're always happy to help an alum, even, you know, even if their, you know, their advisor when they were here is no longer here. That happens sometimes. We are still absolutely open to helping them.
Would you say that's common for alums to take advantage of that resource?
Yes.
And I would also add, so we have the Hamilton Career Network, which is you join it. It's a LinkedIn group, but it's also just it's a group of alums who really want to connect with each other in their industries, and they host multiple events every year, either in person or virtually. And it's really just about Hamiltonians connecting with each other to get career advice, to make connections, and alums are regularly posting opportunities in their companies for other alumni, both on LinkedIn, but also in our My Hamilton Connect, which is our online directory. There's a link for Hamiltonians to post opportunities that they know about or that they're hiring for. I would say, by and large, if you ask a Hamilton graduate how they got to their job, 8 times out of 10, they're going to tell you through another Hamilton person. I mean, it doesn't mean necessarily that Hamiltonian hired them, but it's a referral that was made. And so that continues to this day. That's a large part of the alumni experience, is connecting with others in your industry or other industries that you're interested in learning about.
Yeah.
Again, we've talked a lot about kind of the passion of the alumni network. So how does the alumni network get connected with, and like how is it riled up to be supportive of Hamilton students in this way? What do we do to keep alums engaged?
I can talk a little bit about what the Connect team does, and I think then also a little bit about how the Discovery team prepares students to reach out to alumni. So in terms of the Connect team, like I mentioned earlier, we bring alumni specifically to campus. So they are on campus with the opportunity to speak in front of students who come to their event. Students are made very aware of this event through countless emails. And then after the event, alumni will stay and talk with Hamilton students, and they'll give them their email, maybe even their phone number, to talk with them at a future date. Obviously, with Zoom and COVID, it's even become easier actually to reach out to alumni, because you can just say, I couldn't attend the event on Zoom, but we'll send out the email of the alumni to everyone who attended or every Hamilton person interested. As for the Discovery team, they help teach how to write like a outreach email that you can then send to an alumni to say, hi, like I'm Melanie, I'm really interested in environmental studies and I see that you work at X company. I'd love to speak with you on the phone. And when you reach out to them, like I have very rarely not gotten a response. I think I've probably gotten a response on every email I've sent when I say like Hamilton student looking to talk. So in terms of keeping the alumni engaged, it seems like they're wanting to engage, and all it takes is that first step from a student to just reach out.
So I think somewhat to sort of not answer your question, but when we ask alumni what are the ways they want to give back to the college, the number one way is career support for students.
And it can be scary, the networking process, and a big part of what I do is working with students on developing the confidence to reach out, to know that you don't have to know everything, but you should probably know a little bit, and working on how to phrase these things, and that is the skill really that is going to get you a job in this day and age, is being able to talk to people about yourself and your interests, and that can be so hard. And so being able to, I'm working with a student right now where we've identified someone that she wants to talk to, and we're taking it very slow. She's going to draft an email and send it back to me and see if it sounds okay. Whereas, another student, I might show her the alumni platform, HCN, and they'll be like, well, great, thank you. Now I'll just go off and do it. So it's really individualized to kind of help students wherever they are in that process. Because I know when I was in college, for me, that would have been terrifying. I just wouldn't have done it. But it's really not an option anymore. And so we're really here to help you kind of figure that out.
And I think, sorry, Benjamin. I was
going to say maybe you could speak to it being terrifying.
Yeah, well, I think part of my job at the Career Center is getting over that fear, because you do have to reach out to the alumni at some point. And you can like hover your finger over the send button and proofread it 100 times, but eventually you're going to have to send it. And I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, and the more you realize how eager the person on the other end of the line is to be talking to you. And I guess then I've just become much more confident in it, where now I can even just go on LinkedIn to even a not Hamilton alum, like recently I reached out to like one of Obama's speechwriters and I was like, can I have a call? And we had a phone call. So I think it gets to that comfort level where so Hamilton definitely gave me the confidence though. But what I was going to say before was I think the My Hamilton Connect, which is like our alumni platform essentially, makes it a lot less intimidating because it feels much more like a social media page, like its own LinkedIn kind of thing, that it almost feels more like a chat function than a formal like, hi, I'm this. And I think that also takes off the burden for the student to feel like it's reaching out to such a like scary platform. So I think that's also very Hamilton unique.
Yeah, and on that platform also to follow up on what Mel is saying, on that platform also, if the alum is registered in the platform, there'll be a check mark next to his or her name, which means they're waiting for you to reach out to them, which is really cool, right? You don't have to go, I wonder if this person is going to want to talk to me, because if they registered, they know that's what that platform is for, which is really cool.
Awesome. So I think we're coming to the end of our questions here. So I've got a little lightning round for all of you. So brief answers for all of you to give. What is your favorite Hamilton tradition?
I've got mine, but I'm a student, so maybe it comes easier. Mine is definitely class and charter day. So for people who aren't aware, it's like we have a concert on campus. And even with COVID, Hamilton did a great job of having like a screen where we watched the concert. And then there's like an award ceremony for students who maybe excelled in like academics. And it's just like a great tradition and everyone has a lot of fun.
That's a good one, Mel. I like move-in day for first years when like upper class students will dress up in silly outfits or not, but they'll have big welcome signs and they'll be screaming and giving out ice cream and stuff like that. It's really, really refreshing to hear all the noise that they're making to welcome their new cohort.
So I just really treasure the cane I got at graduation. Seniors get a cane when they graduate. It's really special.
Actually got mine right here. So you too could get a Hamilton cane. I was just thinking about this. What mine would be, Olympics going on right now. Mine would be Hamtrek. It's a Hamilton community triathlon, which is just a lot of fun, and huge amount of the community takes part, whether as participants or as like the all-purpose cheering section for everyone who's going around campus. Okay, second round of the lightning round. One word to describe Hamilton. Go.
Diverse.
Grounded.
I would find like a stronger word than like supportive or like accessible, because I think the small size of it, and like I've gotten to know so many professors and so many like other kids that it just feels like a more like community. I don't know. I don't know if I could settle on one, but I guess I'd go with that one.
Okay. And just to wrap everything up, so this is our audience, largely prospective applicants. So if you could give a piece of advice to these aspiring Hamiltonians, what would that piece of advice be?
I think I've probably said this before, but my advice to students is always explore widely, don't put blinders on. Even if you think you know what you want to do, move towards that goal, but take the blinders off, right? If something's over here going, ooh, this is really interesting, go take a look. You never know what might happen. I think it's a unique time, and at a liberal arts college, it's a great experience. There are so many different things going on and so much to explore and discover that you don't want to be 100% on your path, your first year. You want to still be looking around and thinking broadly.
Mine would definitely be similar to that. It would be like take advantage of the open curriculum. So like take risks. Just like I have never been in a classroom that I didn't desperately want to be in. And my friends have done the same. Like they've taken roots to country music. And it's just such an like I think Hamilton, we tend to take it for granted just how lucky we are that you don't have to take math if you don't like math. And it's let me just pursue like every type of interest that I have.
I would just say there are lots and lots of ways to live a great life. And so whether that's choosing a college or choosing a career, there are lots of ways to do it well, and you just need to listen to your own heart.
Great. All right, so thank you so much. A nice virtual round of applause to our wonderful panel for having such a great discussion, giving us so much good information. And thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did and all the information we were able to give. If you want to stay connected with us and learn a little more about the community, we do have our hamilton.edu/discover page where we're doing virtual events like this very regularly. And if you missed part of this one, we'll have a recording up for it later. So check that out, sign up for future events, take a look at some past events. And enjoy the rest of your college search process. We appreciate so much you spending some time with us today and your interest in Hamilton. Thanks so much and have a great night.